The team is staring at a 1-5 record. That alone sends a message. Playoffs? Probably slipping away. The vibe in the locker room must be heavy, the pressure mounting, losses accumulating, morale dipping. So what do you do when things are sliding? You make changes. Big ones. And the Dolphins went ahead and pulled one. Let's talk quarterbacks. The familiar face, Tua Tagovailoa, remains the guy. He's still the leader, trusted to guide the offense, take the hits, make the throws. But behind him, things just got flipped. The veteran backup, Zach Wilson, someone the roster had leaned on, is now pushed down to third string. Instead, the rookie, Quinn Ewers, suddenly becomes the immediate backup. Think about that. A seventh-round rookie assuming the backup spot. Not just a nice-to-have option, but the guy next in line. That sends a statement, a message, both to the fans, the media, the locker room, and maybe most importantly, to the quarterback room. It says we believe in you. But also, we're looking forward. Ewers, freshly drafted in 2025, came in low on the depth chart. He spent preseason showing flashes, good decision-making, flashes of skill, but most expected him to settle into the third spot behind Wilson. Yet here we are. The coach, Mike McDaniel, notably commented on how Ewers' progress hasn't gone unnoticed. That's the kind of language that normally means, we might shift gears soon. Now, there are a bunch of ways to think about this. On one hand, maybe it's just a practical move. Wilson wasn't performing enough. They need the rookie ready, have to accelerate his development. On the other, maybe there's a deeper shift happening. The Dolphins might be preparing for a future beyond Tua, or at least hinting that possibility. Does that mean Tua's days as the uncontested franchise guy are numbered? Not necessarily, but the ripple becomes meaningful when you consider the trade deadline looming. Wilson could become a tradable asset. Ewers could be positioned as the future guy. The scenario raises a bunch of questions. Does this shake give the Dolphins better flexibility? Does it send a message of accountability around the locker room? You perform or you'll be moved? Could it also create tension? Wilson, once the clear second choice, now watches as the rookie leaps ahead. How will that affect chemistry? How will the team handle the optics if Ewers is thrust into action and succeeds? And what about 2026? If Ewers continues to grow, by next season he might be in a real competition for the starting job. Even if not immediately, his trajectory now says the organization sees him as more than a throwaway draft pick. They've invested in him. They're giving him a spotlight, albeit indirectly. So imagine this. Tua stays healthy, plays well, but the organization subtly shifts its future planning. Maybe they keep Tua as starter in 2025, but set up the board for Ewers to take over down the line. That's the kind of forward-thinking move that changes a team's narrative. Let's dig into what this means for the Dolphins' mindset right now. With their playoff path looking dim, you might ask, is this a win-now-at-all-costs squad or a team realizing they might need to rebuild sooner rather than later? The quarterback move suggests a mix of both. They still believe Tua can win games now, but they also recognize risk. They're hedging. They're saying, we're not just throwing everything at 2025 and hoping for the best. We're prepping for what's next too. And that's where things get emotionally charged. Because for fans, you're never just watching a play. You're watching a dream. Past seasons, hopes of playoff runs, big moments. When the team changes its course, even just a little, it hits. It challenges your belief. It demands you adjust. Some will say, finally, they're making a move. Others will say, what? They're giving up already. It's the kind of split that always exists in the NFL when a team both tries to win now and keeps an eye toward tomorrow. Then you have the locker room. The experience of Wilson entering as backup, maybe feeling secure, then waking up one day and finding out you're now number 3. For Ewers, that's a chance, but also a weight. Being thrown into the spotlight suddenly, that can crack some rookies, but it can also elevate them. The Dolphins clearly bet on the latter. Now, let's lay out some possible paths forward, because this move can lead to many places. Path A, immediate payoff. Tua stays in. Ewers supports, but if Tua falters or gets hurt, Ewers steps in. And what if he looks sharp? Then the narrative changes mid-season. The rookie shows poise, the locker room buys in, and the Dolphins gain momentum. Suddenly, this backup move becomes a turning point, like a spark that refires the team's season. Path B, transitional year. Maybe the playoffs are out of reach, but the Dolphins use this rest of the season to build for 2026. Ewers gets more reps in practice, maybe even some mop-up time in games. The team evaluates Wilson's trade value. They shift modestly toward future planning, while still trying to win. In that case, the move is more strategic than dramatic. Path C, backfire. Ewers struggles under the pressure. The move creates division. Morale dips further. Wilson becomes unhappy. Team chemistry suffers. The Dolphins end up where they feared. Losses pile up, decision-making questioned, and the future feels murkier. Which path do I lean toward? I expect something like Path B with glimpses of A. The Dolphins aren't giving up on this season yet, not publicly. They want to see Tua succeed. But they also know that the margin for error is slim. So they hedge. They introduce hunger. They let the rookie breathe a little. They signal they'll hold everyone accountable. That's what a team on the edge does. It shifts dynamically. Let's examine some of the underlying mechanics. Ewers' ascension to backup is more telling when you consider what being a backup means. It means you're one injury away. One time the guy in front looks off, you're tapped. The team expects you to be ready. That's a heavy load for a rookie. It also means the coaching staff trusts him more than they might publicly admit. For Wilson to be demoted means the staff saw something, perhaps in practice, perhaps in film, that convinced them they're ready to move on. That's the kind of internal message that sets a culture. You can't just show up. You need to perform. The quarterback room is no safe zone. And if you're a fan, watching these changes can either give hope or send chills. On the hopeful side, yes, we're being bold. We're not just going through the motions. On the chill side, are we thinking ahead too much? Are we giving up? But in the NFL, sometimes you have to wobble between now and later. Because if you commit purely to now and it fails, you've wasted time you could have used for development. If you commit purely to later, you lose today. The Dolphins seem to be telling the world, we'll try to win today, but we won't gamble our entire future. Let's talk context. The league is brutal. Injuries happen. Momentum swings. One turnover, one sack, one bad half can undo months of work. With a 1-5 start, the margin for error is nearly non-existent. The coaching staff has to make choices that maybe feel disruptive, but are necessary. Elevating Ewers is disruptive. But what's less disruptive? Losing more games. And those losses are costly. For morale, for fan trust, for long-term trajectory. So when game day rolls around against the Cleveland Browns, the question becomes, will we see the dormant spark? Will Tua respond? Will the offense look sharper? And will the quarterback move behind him translate into a tighter group? More energy, more urgency? Because that's what this is about, urgency. A sense that every snap matters, every decision counts. We also can't ignore the human side. The pressure on Tua must be intense. He knows his record, his team's record. He knows the expectations. He knows the window is narrowing. The fans, the stadium, the media, all watching. For Wilson, this is probably one of the more difficult chapters of his career, from clear backup to third string. It's a test of mental strength. For Ewers, the rookie, this is an opportunity of a lifetime. But with opportunity comes risk. The spotlight will glance at him, whether he wants it or not. And what about the fan base? For a team that's at hope, that's built up around certain players and certain aspirations, this kind of move shakes things. But maybe that's exactly what they needed. Shake the complacency. Remind everyone, nothing is guaranteed. Not even the backup spot. If you believe in the Dolphins, you believe in competition. You believe in growth. If this move triggers more accountability, more intensity, more one-by-one execution, then you'll eventually see results. Maybe this game against the Browns is where you'll notice something different. Sharper blocking, fewer penalties, more takeaways, a feeling that the team is slightly more together. Let's think out loud about what success might look like for the Dolphins this season after this move. It might be simple. 1, Tua plays better, takes fewer hits, delivers more. 2, the offense becomes more consistent. 3, Ewers looks ready, not shaky. When asked to fill in for, Wilson accepts his role and supports the team, or gets moved on without disrupting the locker room. If all those align, the season might shift from let's limp to the offseason to let's salvage something meaningful. If not, the risks show themselves. The chemistry fractures. The media picks apart the quarterback drama. The fans drift. Then 2026 might become full-on rebuild rather than reload. That's not where the Dolphins want to be. One final thought. This move also speaks to the organization's culture. You ask, what kind of team are we? When you elevate a rookie over a veteran backup, you're saying, we reward potential. We value growth. We expect everyone to earn their spot. That's the kind of culture that can grow beyond one season. Whether the Dolphins capitalize on it now is the next chapter. So yeah, this isn't just a quarterback swap. It's a statement. It's a lens into the team's mindset. And as a fan, you'll either sense the momentum change or you'll sense the tension. Game by game, snap by snap, you'll feel it. Buckle up, because the next few weeks could define not only this season, but where the Dolphins are headed for the next handful of years.